All right, everybody's got me smiling, so I'm feeling good today. Let's rock and roll. We're going to talk about containing, but don't constrain your clients. And I love these nuanced conversations, these distinctions. And so you're going to see me looking over to my right here. So I'm going to read a little bit, we'll talk a little bit, or I'll be doing most of the talking for a few minutes, and then we'll, push it back over as is typical and open it up for a round robin, and then we'll spend the last maybe 20 minutes just talking about or answering or fielding any of the questions you guys have. So we'll give that a whirl, have some fun today, and get you out of here in 53 minutes. Cool?
Okay. Cool.
Right. All right. Contain your client, don't constrain. Now, it's in our crazy world, it's taboo to talk about the masculine and the feminine as if they no longer exist, but they exist. Men and women still exist, the masculine still exists, and men and women each have the masculine and the feminine. We know all those things, like, so we don't have to go over that ground. It's well trodden. However, I want to first start the conversation by talking about the masculine, the feminine. You can call it the divine this, the divine whatever. It's all good, but just a few words, and I'm happy to have you folks add later what your thoughts are about other qualities of the masculine, other qualities of the feminine. By the way, before I even go into this, there's a woman by the name of Camille Paglia who I think she's written a few books, but she wrote a book called Sexual Personae. It is, it's huge. I'm probably only like 60 pages in, and it has already, she's so interesting. She talks 100 miles an hour. She's so fast and she's so well thought out, and blah, 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 off she goes. But she talks about these things so soberly and how it manifests in civilizations and societies throughout the millennia. It's a very, very interesting read. So consider reading Sexual Personae. I've gotten a lot out of it, and watching any of her videos. She's a card. She's a pisser.
What's her name again?
Camille Paglia.
Paglia. Okay.
Yeah.
This book is from the 90s. Incredible.
Yeah. She I'm not going to say any more, otherwise we'll go way, way off track, but she is a real gem, and yeah, she's a treasure. So, but diving in.
Is it on audio?
I don't know.
Do you have to read it, or can you?
Yeah,
listen?
I don't know, but like I was saying, it's well worth the read. It's
Okay.
awfully good. But
okay.
Anyway, divine masculine. You think of masculine as projecting, expanding, and she goes right into the sexual aspect of this, and we can go there for sure. But you think of a man, and sexually, there's an expansion, there's a rigidity, projecting. Masculine is intellectual, containing. Like, this is, if you think about a biblical principle, it's the hedgerow, it's the container for the family, the container for the masculine being the man, container for the feminine. The masculine structure without the tyranny is, boy, is it needed. We need good men. We need the masculine. And again, I'm conflating the two just for illustration, but the tyrannical masculine is rigidity, is immovability, won't let new information in. Who's that person over there that's different? No. And it becomes violent outwardly. Yikes, we can't have that. We've got to watch out for that. Okay. Let's talk about the feminine, the divine or otherwise, is about receptive, receiving, right? It is the inside of the container. It's contracting. It's certainly fluid, emotional, release. Now, let's think about the space of the feminine. Without the tyranny, it's the loving mother, it's the compassion, it's that space to say, there's occasions where I'll mentor someone that I'll mentor someone, and I'll say, my gosh, I think I could tell you that I killed somebody, and you'd be like, oh, honey, how are you? How are you doing? That wasn't good, but how are you doing? It's just such a space of, like, you could bring anything, and it's going to be okay. And, you got to turn yourself in, but, now the tyrannical mother, what's known as the devouring mother. This is that, if you think about it again, lodged in a woman, in a mother, It's the mother who's, oh, have another candy. "Oh, that's okay. Play some more video games." No, it's like just wanting comfort and happiness and like all the sugar and like that you can have. Like we just want, and it's like, no, it's too much on the other side that now
Mhm.
anything goes. There's no standard. There's no rigidity. And that, of course, is not healthy either. So we know that we can be over the top with the feminine, which is sort of, we could call it our scams, our demons, our saboteurs, kind of crank up the volume of that feminine so much that it's harmful. The same thing with the masculine. We need the structure, we need the containment, but cranked up too high, and now it becomes life-taking, right? Okay.
Mhm.
How do we contain our clients? Well, a clear agenda. This to me is really ultimately where it vets out, is a clear agenda. What do you want to get from our time? And until Ron answers that question, we don't have this side present. It just isn't there. On the other side of the coaching, hey, Ron, what will you do by when? How will I know? You're containing the coaching. It actually, what we've been doing for the last 45 minutes actually has meaning, because we don't get to the end and it just kind of floats away. Now, there's a third part to this that most people don't really think about, but that's the accountability on the other side. So you show up the next week or 5 days later or whatever it is. Hey, Ron, how did you make out with those push-ups? That's really holding that container,
Mhm.
because it doesn't just slip away. I work with somebody who said that, and he had a coach for years, never held accountability. He figured if it was important to you, you would say something about it and you would do it. And I think, are you kidding me? We just
Right.
spent, right? We just spent an hour, if it was you and me, Kim, we spent the last an hour a week ago helping you become the most powerful, bold, sensitive woman, and you were feeling it and smelling it, and it's there. And then you're supposed to act on it. And then what? You show up next week and we're going to let it go? No. My job is to help you retouch that. What did you do? Where did you fall short? What do you now know? What will you do this week? And that now has become a really closed container. And to me, that's a safe place. You know that you're not going to get away with just, it didn't show up. Ron won't say anything. I won't say it. That's a race to the bottom. Ron's not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Well, okay, good. Like, no, that's true containment. In the coaching, holding the focus. Hey, Ron, we were talking about this. What does that have to do with this? Let's bring it back. Again,
Mhm.
that's a safe place. It's containing it so it doesn't get all crazy and all over the place. You think about somebody who gets really emotional, and when coaches are not containing, they just follow this emotion to that emotion to that emotion. Well, my client's crying or they're upset or they're nervous or whatever. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there. It's like, yeah, but what does that have to do with them getting the job or losing the weight or whatever? Let's help it become relevant. Hey, Ron, I notice as we're talking about you, you know, um, getting this job, this nervousness or something is coming out. Yeah, it's nervousness. Like, great. So how is that related? Right. So you've got to bring it and make it relevant. Otherwise, if we're just processing this emotion, that emotion, that emotion, it dances so far away. It's the abuse of the divine feminine. It's so fluid, it's nowhere.
Mhm.
We got to contain it. That's the masculine. It's the container. Hold it. And let's deal with this thing. Discernment. Now I'm going to compare this with judgment in a moment, but actually, you know what I'm going to do? I think it's easier just to do them both simultaneously. I used to be a practicing Christian, and people would say, well, we're not supposed, like, I would say, like, well, that's not cool behavior. That's not okay. They'd say, well, you're not supposed to judge. That's God's job to judge. It's like, whoa, wait a second. There's a distinction between discernment and judgment. We are supposed to discern. This is good behavior. This is bad behavior. This is, you know, I really should call her right now and apologize. Like, those are discerning things. We should do those things. We're discerning things all the time. We hopefully are getting finer and finer, um, the capacity to more finely determine what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is necessary in a given moment. Right? I'm fond of saying we learn the lesson in third grade, fourth grade. Oh, now we learn the lesson, and not literally in school, but it's wrong to steal by the time you're 4 years old. Well, you might get it at the first grade level, but we learn this lesson over and over again where I dump stuff in this guy's dumpster. It's not a big deal. It's a big dumpster. Nobody will know. Well, that's stealing. That's still stealing. You're stealing. That guy pays $400 a month for that, and you threw your bag in there. It's not a big. It is a big deal. That's stealing. Oh, you're right. well, that's maybe at the 9th grade level, the 10th grade level. We're getting the more fine distinction. So we've got to get these more fine distinctions of discernment of what's good and bad and true. And that's now we're holding a more sophisticated containment. Judgment is, in the Christian sense, is you are going to hell, you are damned. And a wiser Christian would say, well,
Yeah.
that's God's job to judge and figure that one out. You don't know the depths of someone's heart. And those of us or anyone who's not a Christian or not a religionist of any kind, your still job is to say this person is trash, that person is X, they're behaving as X. Who the heck are you to make a global judgment about this is that? That's a very precarious thing. Be very careful. I'm not saying we can never do it, but be careful. Right. And that's now constraining. This person is that is this, and you've got it figured out. And now you're heading into the abuse of the divine masculine. Right. So let's talk a little bit more about constraining. Constraining is when you're intruding on with your level 1 in the coaching, and it is really about you. I might say, Ellen says something and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that happened to me too. That's really hard, isn't it? And there's a way that my level 1 is being used to help her go, yeah, it is hard. I don't even know what to do. Boy, yeah, I can see that on your face. So my level 1 actually takes her deeper into her experience. But my level 1 is, yeah, that happened to me too, and this and that. And the truth is, it's just not easy. It's, whatever. But anyway, I think it's like, whoa, so much level 1 or level 1 that crowds somebody else out. Now you're constraining them. Guess what? She's going to contract and she's just going to learn it's not safe. Even if it's not conscious, she's going to learn it's not safe. She's going to constrict, contract. She is constrained. It's imposing your opinions, your limitations, your ideas, again, your judgments on your client.
Mhm.
Who are you to say that I can't do this or that? Oh, Ron, well, that's because consultants do this, or any coaches who've done XYZ are 1, 2, 3. It's like there's an absolutism to it that, again, constrains me. Again, to make make use of religion, there's a distinction of the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. The letter of the law might say, you don't eat meat on Tuesday or whatever it might be. I don't know. And that's great. You don't do that. And there might be whatever reasons there that are, traditional, that are, what I was going to say, what's the word I'm looking for? When we all do something at the same time, it's like a ceremonial thing that I could take part in. Well, guess what? If I haven't eaten, been fasting for 2 days and I'm getting nauseous and better eat some meat, better go and eat that meat, right? If you're in a bind of a situation, it's the spirit of the law we're after, not the letter. It's the spirit that I'm going to follow through and be part of this tradition and follow these things. And there's going to be an occasion where I'm just going to have to opt out. I exercise every day. Great. That's the letter of the law. And guess what? If you strained yourself, if there's a birthday party, if there's an occasion but you can't keep it, it's the spirit of the law you've kept, and in general, you're on it.
Mhm.
So again, that's the constraining letter versus the containing letter or spirit of the law.
Mhm.
I've got a client who was talking about her husband, and she was talking about it, physical intimacy and wanting, and how he was with her to feel contained, and feeling that a degree of safety because he's not terribly, what do I want to say? Present emotionally, present physically. It's more like there's the physical aspect of it, but there's not the acting it out physically present, And so it's like what she was saying is like, if he was more present, if there was more there, then she would feel more safe to be free in that expression. I thought, oh, well, that makes sense. And it's not, of course, contained to the act of physical sex. It's emotional. If you don't feel that someone can hold your fears and your thoughts, and you're going to start cutting that off and you're going to feel constrained. So we don't want to do that.
Mhm.
And I have one more last example.
You're having some
that I
technical difficulty.
can
You're
you guys hear me
freezing up.
still? Can you guys
Yeah,
still
you're
hear me?
freezing up and then it gets quiet. For me, it does. I don't know about anybody else.
Been totally clear for me.
Oh, good,
Okay.
good,
Fun
okay.
for me as well.
Okay,
Okay.
good. There was just one more example I was going to share. Of a colleague of mine was talking about her and her husband. They would go away every 6 weeks, and it was a date that they had with each other for years. They would get a hotel. They would go out, do stuff. They would go get dinner. They would have a hotel. They would do whatever couples do once every 6 weeks.
Right.
And she was saying that their agreement was that they could argue, they could talk about the kids, they could do whatever, the whole drive there, whatever they wanted. But as soon as the car doors open and their feet touched the ground, that was it until they got home. That was it.
Mhm.
And I thought again, like, wow, what a great expression of containing and deciding this is a safe place. This is the container we're consciously creating to get this work done. And within that, now we've designed what success will be. And we're much more likely to have that in our date night. And so it is with our coaching, and designing it consciously, what we want to create with our clients to contain and offer a container that allows the most freedom and most space for our clients. So there are my thoughts about containing our clients to do the best work possible versus constraining. What are you guys thinking about? What do you guys have to say?
Well, it all makes sense. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked like some of the things you mentioned. They seem so normal, and yet like it's always a great reminder of
Mm.
how we should approach things. Yeah, it made me think a lot about one of my clients as well. I think this is really, I like the discernment versus judgment. I think this is
Mm.
huge, and I have a lot of my clients judging themselves,
Mhm.
and so I think this is really important and helpful in terms of shifting mindset as well. Sometimes, like the way they see themselves or see the things that they do, and so bringing that nuance, I think, would be really helpful.
Great. Yeah, it's funny too, Ellen, when our clients go to judgment, it's you know, uh, it might seem ironic, but it's predictable. It's a great place to hide in self-judgment because there's no responsibility there. Now we just get to process, I'm so ugly, I'm so stupid. Why do I always make these mistakes? And versus, okay, what was the mistake you made? Oh, I trusted this person. Oh, okay. Well, what do you now know about trusting people that you've only known for blah, blah? Well, I know 1, 2, 3. Great. What will you do going forward? Because that's where that line of
Mm.
being and thinking goes.
Yeah.
So it's a safe, just know that your saboteurs are their saboteurs, they're scammers. No, it's a safe place to reside because, think about culturally. It's like, oh, she's sad. Oh, he's feeling really beat up and everything else. Oh, I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to take it away from him. That's not fair. It's like he gets to have his feelings. Like, yeah. And how much of those are being used to keep you at bay and keep himself or herself stuck?
Mhm.
Exactly what I said to one of my clients. I was like, is this perspective benefiting you right now? Like, there's also this feeling like they have to look at it, right, in a certain way and just know that what's the truth in there, right?
Excellent. And there's always a benefit. There's a benefit to being a victim, or and not that I'm not feeling victimized sometimes. Like there's a benefit. It's like I get to convalesce. I give myself maybe permission because this really did hurt. But you know, is it true or is it not? That there's the deeper. Or what are you getting at? Well, the truth is, I'm getting some oxygen. Is that enough oxygen for you, Ron? Yeah, it's
Mhm.
probably. Yeah, it's probably enough.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
good. Great, Ellen. What else for you guys on the contain and constrain front?
Mhm.
I think I'm just kind of reflecting on definitely, especially when I first started coaching, like I have that overly divine, feminine, like supportive side. And, I like recognized this early on. And what stuck out to me, one of the things you said was like, it's so fluid that it's nowhere. And so that's something that I've really been working on in the last several months. And like the container of clear agenda, what are you going to do? How will I know? And accountability, and like having that closed container. And I'm definitely improving, but also seeing just a lot of areas where I could obviously just continue to grow in myself.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's funny just having these conversations, just presencing them has the effect of, oh, I might have to nudge this or here or there. So I'm glad.
Mm-hmm.
Mark messaged me, by the way, and told me to apologize to everybody. He had an emergency phone call he had to take. So
What was helpful for me in this, I'm great at, getting the agenda down and holding the agenda and holding the focus. But what I do that I recognize from what you were talking about is when somebody says, oh, well, this happened to me. Oh yeah, that happened to me too. And I'll get, and then I get into a little bit of story and then remind myself that it's not about me, it's about the client. But but I don't know if that's my way of avoiding. I don't know really what it is. I think I'm trying to relate to the person, but it's not necessary. I'm just noticing that's not even necessary. It gets you really off track. It's a waste of time because it isn't about me,
And Kim, how can you do that? I think, for you, for all of us, but for you as we're talking, it's like, how can we do that? Because it's useful. The first time I remember consciously doing this in a big way was with a client I was coaching who was losing a friend, and I forgot if it was a guy or gal that I was coaching. I forgot who was dying, a guy or gal, but
Yeah.
The person dying was, I don't know, 30s, something like that. It was too young. I had a friend when I was like 22 die when he was 27.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably 29 when I was coaching. And I remember thinking, this is one of those moments to use my level 1 for the sake of the level 2 and 3. For those of you who don't know, level 1 meaning it's about me, it's not about me, but it's everything that comes out of here. Level 2 is the connection with another, or, an audience. And level 3 is the vibe, the space. So how do I use what's going on over here for the other? And that's really where it's at. And I remember saying, I lost somebody at 27. It's not easy, is it? And it was like, no. And they went deeper. And that's when I locked in the lesson of, oh, this is really, really useful. And you just have got to make it about them. And there's a line that came to me when I was first starting to do motivational or professional speaking that they would hammer, which is, don't go up there to get your needs met on the platform. And how many speakers have you seen where they're talking and they're doing stuff and they're like talking about their wives or their husbands or their whatever?
Oh yeah.
And you're like, holy cow, I don't even want to be here. They're getting their needs met. They are unconstrained. That is totally mush. It is that feminine off the chart where it's just all over the place and nobody wants to be around that slop.
Yeah. Right.
So Kim, how do you use your level 1? Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. Use it constantly, but how do you share it in a nutshell as an offer and then a let go? So that's the game for you, all of us.
Well, it happened to me in my coaching yesterday. She lost her best friend. And when she brought it up again, because we were talking about sharing your life with good people and whatnot. And she said, well, my best friend, the one I told you about last time just died. And I I guess I'm needing a little bit of support here on, I could say something like, I know how hard this is, and then leave it at that. I think maybe I got too much into it with her. I don't remember what I said, but I'm just trying to find a way to not get off on those empathy things, or
I think in the moment you're talking about, you're not alone, Kim. Just so empathy from certainly from me, and I'm sure the ladies here are with you. Yeah. As far as the if somebody lost something a day or 2 days, like it's raw and fresh, I probably would ditch my level 1 and really just be like, yeah, this is hard. I mean, like, unless they knew that you had just lost your girlfriend, last year or something like that, and then you might reference it. Outside of that, I probably would constrain that part of me that wanted to connect, because really there is so much to just to be with in silence with
Are we
this
supposed to go to
person.
level 3 with them? If somebody just lost somebody?
Can
Well,
I?
I wouldn't say go to as if it's an elevated state. I mean, I
Right.
would say stay in level 2, stay connected to this person, and
Yeah.
that the level 3, the vibe is calling for you to be
Yeah.
in order for it to be satisfied requires probably a lot more silence and just I hear and I'm sorry and yes and
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
So
I got distracted. I had to shut off my food so I didn't burn the house down.
don't
Okay.
burn the house down.
Can I
Okay.
Yeah.
pitch in something?
Say that again, Len,
Can I pitch in there because
please.
yeah, first of all, I really want to say like you're not alone. I think we've all been there. I think that the especially when it's a sad event in the life of our clients, we tend
Yes.
to go to that place because we feel uncomfortable. You have to be honest with yourself about how you felt while that news was delivered to you because you're a human being. And
Mhm.
so that's what was the hardest when I started coaching personally. Every time that it was something that was touching me, I needed to be very, very self-aware of how it was affecting me as a coach to still be able to stay present for my client. And I think that this is something we need to practice always, but that's something that you should let yourself be aware of. And
Mhm.
in the moment, kind of like make sure that you're taking a step back. And if you feel that way, just voice it, naming it. I
Yeah.
found that sometimes when I feel this way, rather than just kind of rambling, because I tend to do that as well, to say like, hey, I've been through that too, and it was like blah blah
Mhm.
blah. You know,
Mhm.
I tend to name it like, hey, this is touching me. You know, like this
Mhm.
is I feel you, and just like like slowing down in a sense. It
Yeah.
helps me a lot, like gather my thoughts, being very human about how I'm feeling because they can also relate to that, and
Mhm.
just like voicing that, yeah, you know what they've been through, and then like Ron was saying, kind of going into that phase where you were like, okay, there's probably some process coaching that needs to be
Mhm.
used right now.
It feels a little therapy-ish, but I think the point is that this is helpful for me instead of going, oh, I know how that feels. I don't think that's even the place to really go. The more I think about it, I think your idea of just naming how it's making you feel at the moment, is probably so much more powerful than saying, oh, I've been there too. I lost my friend, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's helpful at all, really.
No,
About it,
go ahead, Ellen. Ellen, you were going to make a distinction, sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, exactly. I think that both can be powerful. And I'm gonna explain why. Like, depending on the situation, I think that sometimes you can like voicing how you feel is just like a natural thing so that you can make
Mhm.
sure you're the most present for your client, right?
Mhm.
And it's a relatable emotion. But I think that sometimes it's needed to share one of your personal experience briefly, like very briefly, just say like, hey, I've been going through that last year. I'm very sorry. Or like
Mhm.
something like that, because people feel more inclined to share more of what they need to process. So you gauging that, you have to gauge that in the moment. And it's
Mhm.
not easy, obviously.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a bit confusing, but
Mhm.
it's practice, I feel like.
I
Mhm.
agree.
Mhm.
There was two things that came up, Ellen, while you were talking that I think I want to add on, but it's, this is a great, great conversation. In the context of containing versus constraining, and we're talking about, right. So the masculine would be, like holding it too tightly. And it's like, no, this was the agenda. Why are we talking about this now? It's like,
Mhm.
okay,
Oh,
I'll just
yeah.
hide in a corner, right? And the feminine would be like, anything goes and, too much empathy. Oh,
Right.
and that goes on forever. And it's like,
Right. Mhm.
we could go nowhere. But I was thinking
Mhm.
about how the too much empathy, it's like, oh yeah, and oh, I've been there, and oh, I understand it. It's like there is something, an unarticulated something that we're playing with here, which is, your best friend dies a day ago,
Right.
there's going to be more nothing but being with and listening. You know, it happened a year ago and they're just remembering it. It's like, it's inappropriate to make likely a whole session about it and take them back in,
Right.
unless unless they've never really processed it. And in that case, you're actually choosing that. So it's like, okay, how much, we can't name it, but it's like, how much being with, how much empathy, how much, you know, I
Mhm.
get how painful this is appropriate to contain and to, offer even a broader space, right, for this person to be with their stuff. But there was one thing that I just exemplified a moment ago that I want to unpack as well, which is if someone's friend just passed and you're like, yeah, I know. I mean, my dog died last month and it's
Oh,
90. It's like, oh, no, right? Versus, someone's dog died,
mhm,
then you might be able to easily say, look at
mhm,
I just lost my
mhm,
best friend like a month ago.
mhm.
And it doesn't really matter. I mean, like then, so you're sharing, I don't know how to, like, metaphorically, is it sharing up or sharing down, but you've got to be careful that you're more mild, I get where you're coming from, is not used in a, well, your I get where you're coming from is not
Mhm.
much more mild than what they're going through in a given moment. Cause then it's just like a total, like, you just stole it from them and you put,
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to say before. And this is probably triggers me because one of my parents, every time I say anything, I'm tired, my feet hurt, I bought whatever it is, she can't just be with me with whatever I'm saying. Oh, I know, I have that too. It always comes right back to her and her feet and her every time. And I hate to say every, but it's true. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is so I think I'm triggered a little bit by that. I
but you get to there's the constraining nature of that relationship. It's like, how much do you want to say? You don't.
yeah,
Versus it creating a
yeah,
container for you, which is what you're longing for, is a container with your mom
hmm,
where you
yeah,
can, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
also, what are you learning from the experience you're having yourself that you could also, use?
Hmm. Are you asking me right now? I didn't know if
Yeah.
you were asking me what I'm learning. Well, what
Yeah.
I'm learning is what I would just share with you, that I'm a little bit triggered by all this because it just brought me right to my situation with my mom. It's been like this forever, and I just roll my eyes and just, okay. Usually it's on the telephone, I kind of expect it. Or actually, now I'm getting bolder. I'm not afraid of her at all. And I said to her, Mom, you keep bringing things back to you. I'm talking now. I mean, I'll say that to her now, and oh, okay. She doesn't even realize she's doing it. She's been doing it forever. But anyway, just with the client, if I had a client, this gal had lost her very, very childhood best friend 3 months ago. So it's still very raw for her. I'm not sure in this situation it's helpful for me to then say, oh, I know how you feel. Well, how do I know how she feels? I
Yeah,
don't think I do
exactly.
know how she feels. So maybe it's better to just say something. We have to hold what she's feeling in the moment. So maybe just to say something like, I hear you. I hear you. How are you doing now? How are you doing in the moment? Something like that,
You bet.
instead of trying to relate to it. They don't care. They don't need to hear that, oh, I've been through that too. That's probably the
So
worst thing. And so
go ahead, Kara. Yeah, you're about to say something, Kara.
Well, yeah, well, and that's, I think, the big difference between empathy and something like sympathy, where sympathy is like, oh, poor you. Oh, I've been there. Yes,
right.
I understand. Where empathy is presence.
Yes.
Empathy is just being completely
Mhm,
present with someone
mhm,
else. And
mhm,
sometimes that might come in a form of, when,
mhm.
if it's in that energy of presence, of briefly saying, I feel for you so much because,
Right.
I do feel
Mhm,
like I understand, but
mhm.
that's that difference between like empathy and
Yeah.
things like sympathy and making it all about yourself, so I just think of
Great.
empathy as presence.
Yeah. This is probably this phone call is probably so big for me. Interesting. Not the Zoom, not phone call. Because I don't forget, I listened to that my whole life too. So she was my model, right? So if I listened to her my whole life saying, oh yeah, my feet, always making it about her, I think I probably learned to do the same thing. And I might be doing that a little bit too much with I'm getting red when I'm thinking
Great.
about this, with the client. And I know empathy, and I know how to be with people in that place, but I think it's probably an automatic for me to just say, oh, I know how that feels. And I'm really with it. It's not the best response.
Excellent. Look, and I love your vulnerability by being, because we could all pose here and pretend we got it all together and all that other jazz, but I really appreciate you just being real with where you are in your process.
Yeah.
Right.
The process of your cooking, as well as the process of your
As a vacuum cleaner.
okay. No, but yeah, I mean, look, it's easy. We have all these things that we've been had modeled for us. And so, yeah, how do you want to be? And I'm not asking you in this moment, but it's a question for all. Now that you have that awareness, how do you want to be now? Where else does it show up? How, and as you were talking, and, Kara, your contribution, and Ellen likewise, but it's like, as I'm listening to you guys go back and forth about, well, it's this or that, or this would do that. Or it's like, but that one contains, that would shut me down, constrain me. This one would allow more space, more space for me to be a mushy whatever, but in my feminine and expressing the emotions. This one constrains, probably drives me to my logical, I will only do this and that. So, I what I know for me, I don't know what this turns on for any of you now versus, in the coming weeks, but I know ever since I knew this was going to be the topic, and I know this is going to be on my mind going forward, I keep looking for things that constrain me, things that make me feel contained and safe. I keep listening to it and hearing it in my clients. And I'm like, that sounds like this, that sounds like that. And people are resonating with this distinction. So,
what just came to my mind listening with all this? I don't know how you guys feel about this, but even on Facebook, when somebody loses somebody, and then you get about 50 people, I'm sorry. What is it? Everybody says the same thing. I'm sorry. Sorry, but my condolences. I'm so sick of listening to that. I just want to find something. I want to find something unique and different to say to people that I do feel their pain, and I know they're suffering. But that whole everybody writes the same thing, and I guess it's on my nerves. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, it sounds like you're looking for something deeper and more.
Well, when I say something very different than most people on there. I say, I know you're sad right now. I know this is a really sad time for you. Stick with those that we all love you here on Facebook, and stick with your family and those that you love, because I got to do something different, the same thing for every single person. And it just feels so inauthentic to me. I don't know. I don't even know why I threw that in, but I felt like it. So I did.
You did. Well, and Ellen, I know you're going to say something, but I just want to throw in quickly to say, it sounds like what you're yearning for. And again, within the context of this conversation, something that's not just autopilot, I'm sorry, my condolences, is your intuitive or instinctual desire to provide a container that's not just, rote. And, maybe it's a phone call rather than even doing it on Facebook, where we all look good by doing the right thing.
Right.
So, but anyway, that's just my thought that I'm hearing your urge. But Elaine, you had something on your mind too. I don't want to.
I feel like what's coming out of what you're saying, Kim, is a lot of like wanting something unique. And maybe that's your way of creating your unique way of addressing this part of of the journey of your clients. And like that's the way you do it when you answer something on Facebook, or that's the way you showing up. And maybe that's like starting, like that's you starting to think about how you want to show up in this moments, and breaking the patterns that you've been kind of.
Well, I think I've been doing it all along in my personal life. I've been on this journey for forever, and my own personal work and all of that. But coaching clients, it's a little bit, it's different, because I really want to deliver for them. I really want to help them make a difference in their own lives. So it's taking the focus off of myself. It's what do we call that? I'm so rusty right now.
Okay.
In coaching school, what was it when you take the focus off of yourself? Third level or something like that.
Well, level 2 is to put the attention on the other, and level 3 is to put it on the space.
Yeah, right. Well, in the space is a nice place to be, and on the other two. But so
Kim, one thing is you're thinking about that. So even use this as an opportunity You know, the idea is to satisfy the level 3. Like that's what we're supposed to do. Like in coaching and in conversations, I think we're most powerful when we're satisfying the level 3. What is the space needing? And so it's easy to talk into the space. It's easy to hide from this, you know, and just be out here. But as you, and I'm just, it's an offer right now, as you even are about to speak, it's like, what does the space need? You know, versus what do I, and this is a distinction we're all living with and trying to make all the time, is like, well, I want to, it's like, oh, okay, wait, Ron, you might want to say this or express this, but what is the space needing? And for you to start thinking about that in every area of your life, that's going to go to your coaching, of course. So when you're with your husband and you're like, oh, wait, it doesn't matter what I think about this thing. What is in the space? Oh, wait, he just said this. I might need to respond to this. You know, I think that's a big deal. It doesn't make, you know, me bringing this to your attention or all of our attention right now, it doesn't mean that Ron is Mr. Level 3 and benevolent man, but it's a reminder for me and it's a reminder for all of us to what does the space need and put my attention there rather than the constraining Ron vision or you know, and this is still connected to that, is, you know, I used to be so concerned with what everybody thinks of me that again, my level 1 trying to please everyone to make sure they're happy. It's like, holy cow, talk about no responsibility out in the world, just glom on to what make sure my needs are met. We've all been there, we're all working on it. But I think that might be huge as you're playing with these distinctions again, is you want to create a container for your clients, whether it's the death of a friend or whatever, Kim and Ron and Kara and Helen. It's what is needed in the space right now and getting stronger at being able to perceive that and then the courage to speak it. Anyway, that's my thought. What are you thinking, Kim and others?
This is great. It's just, it's like this was meant for me. I just feel like today with just things that are going on in my life, and just I had a client yesterday, and that's exactly what happened. Her best friend died, and she got all teary-eyed, and I went into that space of I understand. I've been there. I know how it hurts, you know, and I don't think that's. I don't think that. I think there's a better place to go with that. Or just put it that way. So this is really helpful to me.
Good. You see what you're wanting, and you can see there's a gap and that you're wanting to close it. That's great. Good for you, Kim.
Yeah, I really like the idea of container. Thank you. I think that this is a lot of learning for me as well. And I feel like when we all have to like expand on these things, there's always new situation always that also we haven't necessarily faced before and that we're hearing and that are affecting us. So I like this idea of container. And also one thing I want to offer you, Kim, that's definitely something in my
I'm so sorry. Hold on one sec, because I want to hear you. Hold on.
It's a
Lord. I'll just shut this off completely. Hold on one
you
second.
busy woman.
Okay, and usually it's not like this, but okay. Yeah, my life is getting a little busier again. So go ahead. I'm all ears.
It's okay. I just wanted to offer you that sometimes those things that we need to develop, it's also, you know, good to talk about it with our coach. I know that for me, like having a coach constantly, like throughout my own coaching journey, is what's helped develop certain things that I don't necessarily see, and I don't want to be complacent. So I just keep on working on this.
Yeah. I absolutely.
You know what, Carol, when I want to tag you in, actually, yeah, let me do something first. Usually we, you know, I ask, you know, who's got what questions, and we'll address those at the end of the call. What questions are there not about this topic? Is there anything burning for anybody? And if so, please share.
I'm just burning for learning.
All right, good. Well, you'll take whatever we got then. That's great.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be back on and be a part of it, and
good to have
you support it too, you know.
Good.
So yeah,
good.
I love the
Elena or
learning.
Kara, any burning questions for you about anything?
Not for me.
Kara,
No,
yeah.
Well, this conversation, like it really, because I had, I love how you say, you know, about talking about what's good for the space. And I had a situation with a client a couple weeks ago where she's been going through this issue with her partner who, there was some deception involved. And so she's, struggling on whether to stay with him. And she has bombarded by all these people in her life, all telling her to ditch this guy and that, it's terrible and all this stuff. And she's feeling this resistance and not sure what to do. And for one session, I completely held back on something I wanted to tell her because I was trying not to bring my own experiences into it. And then I finally, one day, it just felt right. And I just want to share with you, I had in a different context, similar situation with my own, who is my husband now, and where I was getting told to ditch this guy. And I was frustrated and we stuck it out. And now it's incredible the amount of growth that he went through. And what she needed was that other perspective to balance all of this other stuff that she was getting. And so where I wasn't telling her what to do and what kind of choice to make, but offering this other perspective. And I remembered struggling of like, is this okay? Is this okay for me to be sharing this with her right now? And in that moment,
very powerful.
It was. And in that moment, it was like really good for the space. I like how you said that, Ron, like what's good for the space. And that's what it was. And so I feel better and good about having made that decision.
I'm going to put just, if I can, a word to like why that was so huge is because if she quote unquote chose from there, it wasn't going to be choice because the propaganda was so, or in doctrine, the doctrine being ditch the guy, it was so overwhelming. She couldn't even see that the other side was remotely valid. And you offered like, hey, here's a condition in which this actually is valid. I don't know if this is, you did probably some versions. I don't know what this does for you, but here this is. And now it sort of sobered her up from the intoxicating indoctrination. And now she's more at choice. And that's the name of the game for us. So great job. That's an awesome story.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was,
we're at 5:23 local time. I would love to just go around the horn here and everybody say, sentence 2, 3. Just to kind of close, what'd you get out of today's call? What are you walking away with? Just the essence.
For me, it's so fluid that it's nowhere. That one just really, really stuck with me. I want to remember that because I still catch myself having a tendency to get too far into empathy and presence where I'm just flowing and following along rather than, keeping things in. So it's something I really want to work on. And what's good for the space.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Satisfy the level 3, baby.
Yeah. I love that. I think this is going to be very similar, some of these things. I think that one thing you said, self-judgment, there's no responsibility there. And it's like, I knew that, but the way you said it like this, I was like, damn, this is powerful. This is something I want to be able to say because there is no responsibility there. So like what we do now, right? And so that's one. I also wrote, thanks to you, Kara, like, sometimes we don't realize that we're in a toxic space, whether it's us, whether it's our clients or anything like that. So what's needed for the space in this moment? Like, both of you have like contributed to that. I love this. And then there's one thing, like you said, I wrote it the way it came to be, but like I wrote agreeing on a deal, like talk about anything until the destination. If you're going a weekend away, like it's not so much for the idea, is when you said in the idea of the container, this is what success look like now. We know about it. And that's the same for our clients where they come to us. They want to be unstuck. They want to like a lot of things to be unfolded. And so now we are creating this space to know what success look like. And that's powerful. That's cool.
That's great. Great.
I'm on coaching. I'll be done in a minute. And I'll switch places with you. Never got so many distractions. So sorry, everybody, for that. Oh, I'm almost done, hon.
Here, Kim, I'll just throw a thought in there and then we'll give you your space to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
And then just to riff off of one of the things you talked about with, with if there's, if you're in a victim state, there's no responsibility. It's like, okay, well, my best friend just died 3 days ago. Oh, that's a victim space. Okay, wait. Okay, there's a distinction to be made here, right?
Yeah.
But it's living in that space,
Mhm.
And what we're doing when we make these distinctions, right? When we level these truths, when we help our clients see reality, we're actually creating a container. And, people can be averse to reality because it's responsibility. If you really know something, then you're responsible. So this is what we're doing. When we name it, when we say those hard truths, we are creating a container. We are creating a safe space. And as long as, we don't have an attitude about it, or we're merciful, and, the empathy care that you reminded us of, great word. It's like, yeah, I've been there. I've done the victim thing, whether you say it or it's said in the subtext of how you call them out on their junk.
Mhm.
Then they know, like, oh, well, Ron will call me out. He's also not going to make me feel bad about myself in the meantime. And guess what? If I don't have to feel bad about myself, if I'm kind of got nailed, it's like, okay, we both see this. Now, guess what? It's perfect. It's clean. It's now just developing the courage to do something with this reality. And there's power there. So a lot of good stuff comes with creating the container by saying the thing, the hard, the awkward thing. So courage to you, my lady.
And thank you. I just want to say, like, on what you said, like, my client that I'm thinking about for this exactly, she's always like, when I start doing this, I start thinking about what you would tell me, and then she starts, like,
That's
thinking
great.
exactly the same about me, like, what would Ellen say, So it's funny. It just
That's so
like
great.
connect to us, right?
You've arrived.
Mm.
All right, 60. We just have a couple seconds left here. Kim, give us the essence of what you're walking away with.
Well, I think I already kind of said, the whole thing about how to respond to somebody and how it triggered my mom and all that. This has been wonderful for me. I wanted to ask you personally through this is, if you have you had a client do that to you, come into a session and say, oh my God, I just lost my mother last month, or what do you do in that space? I'm just curious what you do. You must have had that happen to you a lot.
I'll offer the essence and we'll get us out of here in the next like 70 seconds on
Okay.
time, as I like to be.
Good.
I use the example of the friend that I had who died at 27.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's something about if someone loses a mother or a best friend or something that's a significant thing, I am probably not bringing up anything I've had. I lost my uncle 4 months ago. He was my best friend in the world. He was just the man. He was the best. And if I have a client calling, I just lost my best friend yesterday, probably not mentioning my uncle.
That's right.
If you lost him a week ago, I might say, look at my best friend, my uncle died 4 months ago, and it still keeps coming up. This is a journey you're on, and it's not easy, is it? I might.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right.
I would always.
So what would you, if you knew you weren't going to go to that place, what would you say?
You said it before. I understand, but like, wow, this is hard.
Yes.
Boy, you sound like you sound devastated. Boy, I can see
Mhm.
the look in your face.
Yeah.
The tears just keep coming, don't they? You just have got to be with somebody.
Mhm.
That's it.
I think so.
Sometimes saying nothing is the most
that
powerful thing you can do.
Saying nothing.
for a while.
Like, I've forced myself to mute myself on some calls just to see what happens. So that's just
wow.
Interesting.
It's uncomfortable, but it helps.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's great if we riff and say together and say space can create a container. So there you go.
All right.
Yes.
There's my final words, everybody. We're going to end on time as always. And
all right.
No call in December.
Oh.
So I'm scheduling when we're going to do a call again in
my
January.
Birthday run.
What's that?
It's my birthday in December. No call.
We have to have a call.
I
just got going again.
In honor of Elaine's birthday, we're not having a call in December to give space for more celebration where it belongs.
Okay.
So we'll have a call again in January to let y'all know. But until then, you know the deal. Coach Uncompromised, everybody.
Okay.